Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I have a project pan update for my Pan That Face palette project, and this is gonna be a great one because on one of the palettes that I have, I hit 2 pans. Then the other ones, so, but I also have 2 extra pans to show you that I wanted to show you on this video because they come from face palettes that I've been using a ton. So if you're new to my channel, I do project panning content. I also love to create content that shows you guys how I love my collection, and I do some makeup artistry content since I'm a bridal makeup artist and I've been one for the past 7 years. So if you're interested in this Pan That Face palette content in which I show you 3 face palettes that I've been focusing on this year to heat pan and to finish them and remove them from my collection, then just keep on watching. You guys, before we go into the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this type of content, hit the notification bell, and I've been leaving always like a little question or a comment in the comment section below, so you can go ahead and comment on that or leave a comment letting me know what you want to see next on my channel or something about this project that you like. Don't forget to do that. It helps my channel a lot and I deeply appreciate it. And now let's go ahead and go into the update. Okay, so the first palette that I'm going to show you is the one that I've been telling you guys that I want to focus on this for next year. And right now, I'm not quite as sure that I want to use this one up next year. By the way, you guys, I'm wearing a top. It's just that it's a strapless. I'm not that positive that I want to use this up next year because I don't like the blush. And the more I use it, the less I want to use that blush up. But I've used this a couple times. I've been focusing on using Becca Opal from time to time. You guys, I love to rotate my collection. So whenever you see an update from me for any project pan, know that I didn't use basically none of the products every day for the month because I have a big makeup collection and I love to just tiptoe into it. I sometimes use 2 highlighters a day, 3 bronzers depending on where I place them on my face, 2 blushes. I love to use my stuff and I love to mix it up. So whenever I tell you that I used a palette, I sometimes use it 15 times, sometimes use it 10 times, sometimes use it 7 times or 5 times. It doesn't have to be every day. I want to show you my progress, but it's a realistic type of progress since these are not the only products in my collection. So this is the Becca Sun Chaser palette and it comes with a highlighter, a bronzer, and a blush. And the blush is the one that I'm not in love with. It's not that it's a bad shade of blush, it's just that it's a blah type of shade. It's not a shade that I would want to get out of my way to reach for when I have over 90 blushes or 100 or 120 blushes in my collection, something crazy like that. I haven't counted them yet, but I have a ton. So these doesn't pop out from my collection. I've used the Becca Opal more and more. I know the pan has been expanded. I'm even wearing a little bit of it today. I don't wear crazy highlighter. I'm not into that anymore. But this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite highlighter in my collection with Champagne Pop from Becca. Becca has my favorite formula of highlighter. And then the bronzer, this is too warm for me and too dark. So sometimes I use it on my eyes. Sometimes I use a little bit of it on my body or on my face, but I have to be super light-handed with it since this is Ipanema Sunset. It's a pretty dark blush and I'm not wearing fake tan since I've been breastfeeding my baby. So yeah, this is the update on this one. It doesn't have that much progress, but whatever progress I make on this one, it's progress because like I said, I'm thinking about focusing on this one next year. I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking that this is gonna be one of the palettes that I focus on next year. I'm gonna leave the most exciting for last, and it's not, surprise, surprise, palette for the year. So the palette for the year is the Nars Virtual Domination palette. And on this one, last update, I show you that I hit major pan in Miss Liberty, which is the highlighting shade that it's too glittery to use as a regular highlighter every day, but I use it on my body. I use it as a blush topper or just to mix with my blushes. It's a beautiful shade and I really like it even though it's glittery. So I hit major pan in that and I've used that a couple times since because the pan surrounding it, it's really thin. I know that I can expand the pan and I want to focus on that for the rest of the year. Even though I used the blushes a couple times, I didn't focus on this palette as much because I was so in love with the other palette, and I've been just so focused on that one that I basically use this, but just as a little bit of a blush in the apples of my cheeks like I did today. I have today Deep Throat mixed with Final Cut just right here for the apples to just give the final touch to the look that I'm wearing today, which is one of the looks with my Level Up Project Pan palette, which is the Modern Renaissance. I haven't been using this one that much. I probably used it about 10 to 12 times, so I used it, but I didn't use it nearly as enough or as much as I use the other palette that I have. So you don't see any progress on this one. So my goal for next month, it will still be to keep trying to hit pan in Deep Throat and to just keep using these shades and to expand the pan in Miss Liberty. If this is your first time on my channel and this is your first time watching this Project Pan, I have a Project Pan playlist. But this is not Laguna, which was the bronzer that was here. I finished Laguna and I repressed another bronzer so that whenever I reach into this palette and I want a bronzer, if I don't want to reach in my bronzer drawer, I have a bronzer that I can just use, and that way maybe I can use those bronzers up. Those two bronzers that I mix together and Frank can play with, because those are not bronzers that I actually love, but that if I can use up, it will be a plus. So yeah, this palette basically has a bronzer empty and a pan. But a goal for this year would be, it was to hit one pan only, but now it's to expand this pan and hopefully hit another pan in one of the blushes. And I know that Deep Throat has a dip in it, and I would like to hit pan on that one. I think that's the most realistic. But if I don't, I don't. It's just a goal. And then for the last palette, that it was supposed to be a summer palette and we're deep into fall now, is the Natasha Denona Tan palette, and I was already feeling sorry for myself that I wasn't gonna reach this goal. And then on my last update, I realized that I had a big dip in two shades, and then I said that I wanted to hit pan in the blush and bronze powder, which is the bronzer that I'm using this palette all over my face today, and I will tell you how I've been using it so much. On this one, I not only expanded the pan in the glow cream base, which was one of my goals, but I also hit pan in the blush and bronze powder, and then also hit pan in super glow, and then also removed all of the NDs from the glow impact powder. So I've been using this palette like a crazy person. You can see it right here. So the reason why this is looking gunky is because it had a major pan, and you can see my last update, and I always used it with a brush on the same place. But since the pan was already there and it was super expanded, it was hard for me to just put a brush in it and just mess it around. I didn't want to do that because I like the product to be in one side of the brush or just one part of the brush. So what I did was grab a spatula and spread it all of the cream so that I could get an even application of color. But I've been using it so much that I have pan again, and I didn't want to repress it again so that you guys could see how messy it looks, because I know that the glow cream base on my Natasha Denona Blue palette, which is one of the palettes that I finished this year, I finished first the glow cream base. It's such a good product. But I realized that I don't like it as a glow cream base. I like it as a bronzer, as a cream bronzer, or as a cream blush. And that's the way that I'm wearing it today. So all this warmth, like a blushy, bronzy tone, it's not a bronzer. It's actually the glow cream base. And then I have the blush and bronze on top. So I don't like this as a bronzer because it's too warm on me. It's too blushy on me. And I don't like this as a bronzer either, even though I use it as a bronzer, because it's too blushy on me. But I've been using them that way. So I want to keep using these as a base, as a cream bronzer, but with a hint of a blush. So I apply it not only right here, but I apply it all over my cheek. And then I do that before powdering my face. After I powder, I go in with this one. And then I can mix these two together as blush because they are this is too deep for a highlighter for me. And then sometimes, since my neck or my skin is more on the cool tone side, and I realize that every time I use something super warm, I tend to just mix this with a big fluffy brush and apply it on my chest when I'm filming videos, because I don't tend to do such a heavy makeup application unless I'm going out, and lately I haven't been going out that much, and when I do, I have a light makeup application. So the way that I've been using these is mix as blush and then also on my shoulders. But I don't go ham in any product that I'm project panning, and I always let you guys know that, because I'm not the type of person that will waste product in order to show you guys progress. That doesn't make any sense for me. That feels like cheating. And then for the highlighter, I've used it as an inner corner highlight. I've used it as a highlighter today. I mixed this with opal today to create like a golden highlighter, and I love these highlighters. Again, the one from the In Bloom palette I was obsessed with. It was more of a peachy highlighter, and I was crazy about it. So I've been wanting to make progress on it, but I haven't been into highlighters, so I use only the tiniest amount at a time, but I've been using this one consistently. So the goal for the next update is going to be to expand the pan in every single shade on this palette, because now I've been thinking that this should be the palette for next year, so that I can remove another face palette from Natasha Denona from my collection, showing it a lot of love. And funny enough, this was the second palette from Natasha Denona that I purchased. So if I already finished the In Bloom palette and then I get to finish this one, then I can go ahead and finish all of my face palettes from Natasha Denona in the order that I got them, and that way they will not go to waste, because these are not cheap or affordable products. They're great, but they're not affordable. And honestly, you guys, I like this palette. I've been using it a ton. This won't be a palette that I will be repurchasing, and that's not the case for the In Bloom palette, even though there's one shade in there that I know I won't be able to finish ever. I know that the In Bloom palette I will repurchase, because I love the blush, the highlighter, the glow cream base. They're just my jam. I will repurchase it gladly. But I have two other face palettes that I've been using consistently and that I wanted to show you, because I hit one pan in each of those palettes. The first one is one that when I showed you all of the pans in my collection, and I'm gonna link that video below, I showed you this palette, and this is a palette I depotted a few of my Nars blushes to put on my makeup artistry kit, and then it was too big, so I decided to keep it in my collection, and I always use it on myself, and I use other palettes on my makeup artistry kit or Tarte mini blushes. It's what I take with me. So this palette is basically all me hitting pan on it, except for Gilda, which is one of the shades that when people come to my studio, I will pull this out, because it's one of the most beautiful matte with a hint of a sheen or a satin formula to it, which has been discontinued. But I showed you guys that I repressed Luster, and that is so pigmented. This already had pan before, but I repressed it, and I didn't count the pan towards my overall count of pans. But I've been using this one so much that I've hit major pan in it again, and all of the pan is so thinned out that I think that I could finish this blush. Not this year, but I think that I could finish it in about the next 6 months, because I never use only one blush. But I think that can be a goal, and I have a Nars palette that has Luster in it, so I won't be repurchasing it, because if I didn't have that in my collection, I would repurchase. It's one of those blushes that I actually think about, okay, this look goes with Luster. It's one of my favorite shades in my entire Nars collection. I hit that pan, it's a major pan. I've used this blush consistently, and I use it as a companion blush to other blushes, and it gives me the perfect amount of warmth. It's so beautiful. It's one of those blushes that it's satiny. It has a hint of a goldish tone to it. It blends into the skin beautifully. Nars blushes, you guys, you shouldn't swatch them to know them, and this goes for every blush, but I think Nars blushes, sometimes people swatch them and think that they're not good enough, but when you use them, you guys, they're so worth it, and you pay a high amount, but these blushes will last you forever because of their pigmentation, and they blend like a dream. So yeah, this blush, I have pan in it. So this face palette, which I consider a face palette, a blush palette, has pan in it. And I've also been using the rest of the blushes, because when I have a product that I put as a focus product, I never use one shade. I always go ham and use the entire palette. And then this one I wasn't expecting at all, because the Luster blush I've used so much and it was so thin that I was expecting to hit pan on it. But I have here the Hourglass Lighting Edit Mini Sculptor Unlocked. And this, you guys, it's a newer palette in my collection. I bought it, I think, last year. And I wanted to have an Hourglass palette because everyone raves about them. And you guys, I hit pan on the Soft Light shade, which is a finishing powder, and it's the finishing powder that I'm wearing on my face today. So these I use to buff my face, and I've used it consistently every single day. And I've used these three shades consistently when I reach for that powder, so I mix it up. I use all of these face palettes, and I dip my toes into different palettes or different pans in the different palettes depending on the look that I'm creating. But this is just so beautiful. And I have a small pan, but I know the pan will be expanding, and I will keep reaching for this as my buffing powder, and I buff my face every time I do my makeup. The only product that I'm not obsessed with, and it's because of the color, not because of the formula, is the shade of this blush, because you guys know that those are not my favorite shade of blushes. But I was thinking that this could also be maybe a palette that I could have as a focus palette, maybe as a side palette next year, because I think it would be fun to finish this up. And spoiler alert, I'm not in any hurry to have the products shipped to me, but I purchased the Hourglass face palettes that they released this year. I don't want them for review. There are enough reviews. I want them for myself, and I purchased 2 of them. I would love to fall in love more with this palette until I get those as a shop my stash for products that you want, than wait for those to just have something new to play with. When they get here, I will love them. Why not give the time and place for this one since it came first into my life? Okay, you guys, so that's it for this update. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is gonna be a longer one because I included 2 extra pans and 2 extra face palettes that you will not be seeing in the next updates. I just wanted to show you other palettes that I've been focusing on since I'm doing this project. So that's it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave an emoji below talking about something related to luster for the shade that I hit pan on. And also leave any comment that you want below. I love chatting with you guys in the comments. If you got to the end of this video, I appreciate it so much. It helps my channel a lot. And if you like this type of content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That way I can know which videos to keep doing and which project pans to choose to do next year or keep doing next year. I think this is gonna be one of them because I love it so much, and I've had major goals hit with this one, and I finished face palettes that I didn't know that I was gonna be able to finish. So that's it, you guys. I love you. Don't forget to subscribe, and I guess I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.